guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be reviewing The Crusade, a First Doctor story from Season 2, which is sadly partly missing. Only episodes 1 and 3 exist, and 1 is in a little rough shape. But 2 and 4 are missing, and of course have been done on the Season 2 box set with telesnap reconstructions and linking narration and subtitles. I like The Crusade a lot. I think I would enjoy it more if it was fully complete. There are some parts where it's a little hard to follow, especially without some kind of linking narration, especially in episode 4 when there's some physical fighting going on. I do enjoy the story. I tend to love First Doctor pure historicals. I like the idea of the Doctor and companions ending up in a part of history where they can't really do anything or alter anything. They just kind of end up there. They end up in a situation. They have to get out of the situation and get out of there, and history continues as planned, where they're not really causing a big change like more often now in history, or most in history after the First Doctor era, where the Doctor's saving the day. You know, they're just kind of there and they're getting out. I like that. Here we're, of course, in the Crusade. I believe the first Crusade. We have Julian Glover playing Richard the Lionheart, with Jean Marsh playing his sister Joanna. And they're putting in good performances. Good performances all around, really. I like the guy playing the shopkeeper. He's just hilarious. The guy playing, was it Saladin, the leader of the opposing side to Richard. I don't want to say the bad guy. He's really not. But the actor playing him, who, of course, he is in, I guess, brown face, yellow face, whatever you want to call that, brown face, I guess. It's Egyptian, right? So it'd be brown face. Which I know some people would have an issue with, but keeping in mind that's just how casting was done at the time. And I tend to look more toward whether the character is played well or not, and written well, which the character is. Him and his brother are both written very well and performed very well. There is a depth to how the characters are written. And I like the fact that they don't come across as bad guys. Like, I'm trying to get through this review without accidentally calling them the villains or the bad guys, because they don't come across like that. They come across as people with their own honor system, where they're good rulers trying to do what's best for their people. Neither side really wants a war. They want to avoid a war, actually. They're going out of their way to try to avoid a war. It's just, you know, events and time are throwing a war at both of them. You know, Richard comes across as a very noble person, but the other character, again, I can't remember his name, Saladin? I'm going to call him Saladin. Also comes across as a good and noble character with what's best for his people in mind. The one main, I guess, villainous person in it is the guy with the scar. I forget his name. Escobar or whatever. You know, he's not a good person. He's kind of, if there's a traditional bad guy, it's that guy. The one that, of course, sneaks Barbara away and Ian has to go try to rescue her. But it's interesting to me how this story doesn't have a traditional good guy, bad guy. Both sides of this war are portrayed as honorable rulers. Neither of them want war. Both of them are very well spoken, actually. I really like when the Saladin is telling them to take the knight, Richard the Knight away, Sir William or whatever his name is, and he's like, you know, afford him every liberty except that of liberty. And then with Barbara, how he's, you know, what he says to her and stuff. I like how well and spoken he speaks like an educated man and a wise ruler. I like the fact that they don't get tropey with him. The biggest problem to me when people do brown face or yellow face is when they get stereotypical, or where it comes off as farcical and disrespectful, like, you know, maybe Breakfast at Tiffany's, maybe is what I'm thinking of, or whatever. Is that the name of the movie I'm thinking of? Where it's done in this really cant way that's really hard to watch. When it's done like this and it's done in a respectful manner, it's the reason why I don't mind it in Talons either, because the character is well written and well performed. I'm more willing to look past that, because again, that's just how casting was done back then. There was definitely no malice in that, and I love how well the character's done. I like the sets. The sets look really nice. I love Hartnell's performing. Sometimes I think it's easy to forget just how good William Hartnell is in this role, especially, I mentioned this in my review for Planet of Giants, especially since a lot of times we don't think of the template for the Doctor really starting until Patrick. But Hartnell, what he does with the first Doctor, he goes all the way with it. He sells it. What he does with his body language, his mannerisms, his facial expressions, those little odd quirks the first Doctor has, like when he's fluttering his fingers or when he does his little laugh, all these things that really stand out with a good actor to make this role his own. He's so good at that here. I love when he's chewing into the one guy, calling him a coward, you know. You, sir, who only wants death. Yes, you're brave and noble, but you're also brainless. I love the first Doctor when he's tearing into that one knight. It's so good. And how Richard lets it go on for a while, and when the other knight starts to draw a sword, Richard steps in. I love how well Julian Glover is playing Richard as this nobleman with a bit of a temper, but a noble king. And Jean Marsh, I love how her eyes light up with fire when she learns about the marriage proposal. She's like, I will not. I command you. You can't command me. I love the interplay with them there. Ian gets knighted. That's so awesome. Ian gets knighted by Richard the Lionheart. I love that Ian gets knighted. I love how brave and steadfast Barbara is in this, even in the face of the great dangers she's in. I love how she sees through it. She doesn't give up. How she refuses to use the knife on the one girl, even though the dad told her. I didn't know the dad survived. The dad that helps her. I thought he got killed in like part 3 because it looks like he gets stabbed, and I thought he died. I don't know how he wakes up and gets free, but then he shows up at the end to rescue. That's a little odd for me. That's a little, because I thought he had died. That's a little odd to me. How did he get free? I'm a little confused by that. The battle scene at the end, again, is a little hard to follow since it's telesnaps. You really need some narration there or linking subtitles to kind of keep up with what's happening. But that's just unfortunate, but it is what it is. I do like the bit at the end when the one knight wants to kill the Doctor and Ian's like, no, I have far more problems with this traitorous person. I like the fact that the one knight, even though he's kind of a jerk, the one that wants to kill the Doctor, that he still has a sense of honor. So when the Doctor makes his last request to see the city of Jaffa, he's like, granted. And Ian's like, I want to do it. Granted. How he's just kind of, all right, I'm a knight, I'm honorable, granted. And how they have to get away real quick. And like at the end when Ian's like, all right, no more sir jokes. And the Doctor's like, well, you've earned a good night's rest. I'd forgotten that one. That's hilarious. It is odd to see the first Doctor kind of cracking a joke like that. It's really odd to think of the first Doctor doing a joke like that. Well, you deserve a good night's rest. It gave me a good chuckle. It's so terrible, but I love it. And then Vicky, of course, having to be disguised as a boy until she's revealed to be a girl. There's a lot of good stuff going on in this one. I really wish it was complete. I'm grateful that at least it's the only 2 missing episodes of season 2, and the rest of it's complete. I'd trade a couple episodes of the Web Planet for these back, but that's just me. But yeah, I think it's another really good historical with some really good casting choices, and I like the fact that both sides of this war are written the way they are, where both of them come across as kind of an honorable people wanting to avoid war. I really like that that the writers gave the story that kind of depth instead of making the other side more 2D villainous. I'm glad they didn't go that route. I'm glad they did it the way it did. And I think that's just down to David Whittaker being amazing. I'd forgotten David Whittaker wrote this, but David Whittaker, I really think doesn't get the credit he deserves. I loved the Looking for David documentary, but he is so essential to Doctor Who, and Doctor Who being what Doctor Who is. He really is, I guess, Doctor Who's uncle. His first uncle, even before Uncle Terrence. I guess he's Doctor Who's first uncle. And I absolutely tend to love the stories he writes. He does a really, really masterful job with the Crusade. So I want to know what you think of the Crusade. Comment down below and we'll talk about it. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There's a link to that down in the description below as well. I want to give a shout out to a couple of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney and Perkins. I appreciate their support. as I do the support of all of my patrons. It is very much appreciated. I also have a link to my Amazon wish list down there, and a link to my Amazon UK wish list down there as well. I've updated that one recently. I also have my P.O. Box down there. If there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review, and YouTube memberships are available, most importantly. Thank you for watching.